Hi students, today I'm going to take a subject, company law. Today we are going to discuss about few questions. First is define prospectus. Second is what is the statement of law of prospectus. Third one is difference between MOA and AOA. And the last one is what are the contents of the prospectus. The first question what we are going to discuss is define prospectus, or it can be asked as what do you mean by prospectus or what is meant by the prospectus. Actually, the prospectus, when you come to hear about this, is a complete document, a document which is related to the company and information about the company. That is called as a prospectus, which includes everything, every details about the company is called as a prospectus. So it's just like a document. It's just like a brochure. When you just go through it, you can get and all sorts of information that is called as a document. So here, in the company law, we are going to discuss about somewhat the same. So here we are going to discuss about the process. So according to the section 2 of 36 of the Companies Act 2013, okay, it is the prospectus is defined as an include is a notice or a circular, or you can say as an advertisement which is given to the public so that they can purchase the shares or they can subscribe the shares of the body of the corporate. It is an open invitation to the public so that they can know about the company and they can purchase or subscribe the shares or the debentures of a body of the corporate. Okay. So this is called as what the prospectus. Here it is written as any documents issued as a prospectus and includes a notice, circular, advertisements or any other document. Again, I repeat, it's a document inviting the deposits from the public. As I said, it's an open invitation from the public or inviting offers from the public for the subscription or subscribe or purchase of any shares or debentures of a body of a corporate. So it's just like a invitation is given to the public to subscribe the shares and debentures of the company. Yeah, right. Now, the next questions what we are going to discuss about is what is the statement of the Leo of prospectus. Now, in the first question, we have discussed what is prospectus. As I said, prospectus is an invitation, circular, or an advertisement to the public so that they can purchase or subscribe the shares of the body of a corporate. Here, the Leo of prospectus is a statement of prospectus, it's a supporting document which is filed with the registrar of the company. That is called as what the ROC. Okay, in case if the prospectus is not issued to the public. Okay, so this you can say as it is a supportive document. Okay, so it is inviting to the it is also an invitation to the public so that they can also subscribe the shares. But the thing is, this review of prospectus will be having the signatures and also the people who are related to the companies or the agents which is authorized in writing this prospectus. Everything will be there. That's authorized, signed, signature will be there. Then only it can be issued. So this is called as what the statement of the prospectus. The next question what we are going to discuss is difference between MOA and AOA. What do you mean by MOA? MOA is, if you expand this Memorandum of Association, and AOA is Articles of Associations. Now, what is Memorandum of Association? So, Memorandum Association, if you say it is a legal document which is prepared at the formation and the registration process. At the time of registration process, this kind of document or legal document is created, which creates a or which establishes the relationship between the shareholders and the company. Okay, so this is called as what the MOA, right? And next is what the articles of association, that is called as what the AOA. It is which specifies the regulations of the company, which we can say that which tells us that what is the purpose of the company. That is called as what the articles of association. So here we are going to see some few differences about what is MOA and AOA. Right, the first is MOA is you can say the first difference is it is called as about the constitution of the company. As I said, is a complete document of the company, whereas AOA is decides only the set of the rules and regulations of the company. The second difference is we are going to see that MOA, it defines it what are the powers, what is the objective of the company as well as any constraints or an organization as a whole. So what sort of objectives of the company is having. So all these things comes under the MOA, whereas AOA describes the powers and the duties of the individuals, of the directors, like the board of directors. What are the duties? What are the rights they have? They hold. All these things comes under the AOA. Third is it contains some six clauses. Okay, all this comes under the MOA, and other is as per the requirements of the organization, because AOA you can set us you can some bring out some various changes in the rules and regulations of the AOA. Next is MOA is very much compulsory when the company is formed. Okay, that means it is as it's a very mandatory, you can say. So registration of MOA is mandatory for all the companies. If you are going to start a company, MOA is must. It's not you cannot. It's not an optional. It is a compulsory, or you can say it's a mandatory document. Whereas AOA, okay, AOA says is a public company limited by the share scanner of the table instead of the articles. It's not mandate. It's not mandatory, but there is some sort of a supportive document should be there. Okay, MOA has to be filed at the time of the company's registration. Once you started the company, you have to register with the people, with the concerned person, with the authorized person. That's what was registered at the time. Okay, so at that time this MOA is very much compulsory, but AOA is an option. As I said, that's why it has some rules and regulations. It can be changed and all that, but once MOA is created, cannot change. That's why it's also termed as a constitution of the company. Okay, so that was the first difference we have. So AOA is a filing is very optional, but when it comes to the MOA, you have to file file it very compulsory. Differences, few differences what we are going to see is MOA is also called as a supreme document. We can say the word supreme. Supreme is a mean, or you can say the major, or you can say it's an important document. So MOA is a supreme document of the company. It's a very, very important document of the company, whereas AOA is a subordinate of MOA. It's a supportive document of what the memorandum of association. So MOA is a supreme document. When it comes to the AOA is a subordinate document, or you can say it's a supporting document of the MOA. MOA is the dominant instrument and it controls the article. See, it's a main dominant instrument. That means it is a main document which controls the whatever written is articles in the whatever the clauses or what are the points is written in the articles of association. It is controlled by the MOA. So it has a dominant power. Okay, whereas any articles in the AOA is a violation of the provisions in the MOA should be considered as if any articles is violating in the mentioned in the articles of association, it will become automatically it will be considered as invalid. Why? Because it is a supportive document. Right. The eighth difference is it cannot be amended to the restorative effect. As you can write, this one is also one of the difference, and it can be amended retrospectively. MOA is defined as is defined where in the Companies Act where it has been defined. It is defined, or you can say it has been mentioned in the section 2 of the 28 of the Companies Act, and other AOA is defined in the section 2 of the Companies Act 1956. It is a subordinate again. We are saying it is a subordinate to the Companies Act. That means you cannot give any this means that MOA, you cannot give any company to the power without any accordance of the act. Okay, so whatever it is mentioned in the MOA, it is always following the rules and regulations of the company act. And AO is, as it is a subordinate document of the MOA. So if any clause is there which is not at all valid, automatically you cannot be mentioned. So AOA is also a subordinate of Companies Act. It's a subordinate document of the Companies Act, that Companies Act, and but also it is also a subordinate document of the MOA also. So these are some few differences. You can write that there are 10 points out there. I have just mentioned. So just go through it. You will be able to get. The last questions what we are going to discuss is what are the contents of the prospectus. So you have seen that what is prospectus or defined prospectus. We have next question, we have seen the statement value of prospectus. Now here we are going to see what are the contents, what are the things has to be mentioned in the content. So here I just quickly brush up what are the main important points. So first is address and registered office of the company. Definitely when you have a company, you should have an address, you should have a registered office of the company. So everything should be mentioned. Second is name and address of the company secretary, auditors, bankers, and underwriters. So whatever the people who are included or whatever the people who are associated with the company, their details, name and address separate should be there. Dates of openings and closing the balance of it. Definitely whatever the incomes and profits, whatever it is, as the opening and the closing balance, everything has to be mentioned. And the declaration about the issues of the allotment letters and references also has to be prescribed time to time. It has also to be mentioned. Then the statement from the board of directors, whether whatever income has been there, it has to be mentioned separate. If there is any separate bank account is there, or whether the issues shares has been issued, that has to be transferred into some other bank, that bank details has to be mentioned. Next is underwriting issues, that also be mentioned. That is the consent of the directors, auditors, bankers, everything has to be mentioned in the prospect. The few more points is the authority, that is the authority of the issues and the details of the resolution passed any before. If any resolution has been passed before it related to the company, that also has to be mentioned. Next is the procedure and the time should have the allotment of the issues of the securities, whether it has been issued and to whom has been issued, that details also has to be. Next is the capital structure of the company, all those details has to be mentioned, everything in the prospectus, that is main object of the public one, and what is the main objective, and related to the present issue and the terms, everything has to be mentioned. Next is the minimum subscription and how much amount has to be payable, whether it has to be paid in the form of a cash, everything, issues of the shares, everything has to be mentioned very much clearly in the contents of the prospect. What we are going to add is the details of the directors, who is the director of the company, and including their appointment and the remuneration, how much they are getting, everything has to be mentioned. Next is disclosure about the sources of the promoters, who is going to promote and what sort of contribution they are having, all this also has to be mentioned. And particularly the relation between the management, the perception of the risk, everything, whether if they have taken any project, and what are the time, what is the completion of the project, what is the deadline of the project, everything has to be the complete details. Okay, what are the whether the what is the gestation period of the project, what is the deadline of the project, when the project has been started, okay, when it is going to be finished, okay, and whether it has been any risk management or risk factors are there, all these things has to be mentioned in the contents of the articles. Thank you, students. I hope that whatever the questions we have discussed is very much clear to you through this video. The first we have discussed about that what is defined meant by or defined prospectus. Second is what is the statement of the Leo of prospectus. Third is what is the difference between MOA, that is Memorandum of Association, and next is Articles of Associations. The 10 points have been already mentioned over there. And the last one is what are the contents of the prospectus, which contains 13 to 14 points over there. It's very much clearly, very easy English. It has been written. It is easily understandable.